There we go.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and I want to thank you all for being here and being prepared with the student data. As always, our focus is on student learning, growth, and well-being. Today we'll be using the Georgia MTSS framework, which we normally use anyway, but we are going to really focus on that today to evaluate academic, behavior, and social emotional data for 3 students. We're going to also work to determine to see if any changes are needed to support them in the best way that we can. So quickly, I want to review our roles. When we're talking about student A, I will facilitate the meeting. I will also support when we're talking about students B and C, just in any of the roles that are needed. Ms. Hill will facilitate when we talk about student B, and Ms. Short will facilitate when we talk about student C. Ms. Hill is also going to be our behavior expert, and she's going to add in any information we might have about behavior. Ms. Short is our intervention expert and will offer anything she can about current intervention strategies and any that we may need to try out. Ms. Partain, who is our ESOL teacher, will help with language and intervention updates and serve as our timekeeper. And Ms. Overstreet, if you will be our data specialist and will provide progress and assessment updates as we talk about each student. One thing that is a little, this is new for us in this meeting, is that we are going to follow the ideal problem-solving framework. And with that framework, we are identifying the problem, defining the problem, exploring ways to solve the problem, coming up with an action plan, and then looking back to be sure that we've done everything that we can. After reviewing each student's progress, we'll determine if the interventions that they are needing need to be continued, adjusted, or replaced. So let's go ahead and get started with Emily, our student A. And I did print out some of Emily's data, or I know some of you have computers if you want to look Emily up. You can use either one. So first, we want to begin with identifying and defining the problem.
Okay. Emily is a 2nd grade student receiving Tier 3 support in reading and Tier 2 in math. In the classroom, she continues to need one-on-one prompting to initiate work. She is hesitant to read aloud and struggle with decoding unfamiliar words. In math, she is more engaged when visual models or manipulatives are used. Emily often seeks adult reassurance and prefers structured routines.
Okay, what data do you have, Ms. Overstreet?
Based on the most recent IEP diagnostic from March 2025, Emily is performing at a kindergarten level in reading overall. Her placement is phonics grade 1, high frequency words grade K, comprehension of informational and literary text grade K. In math, her overall score is 393, which places her in the 21st percentile. She is showing grade 1 performance in number and operations, measurement and data, and algebraic thinking. While she is retaining some skills, about 70%, she continues to require intensive ongoing support.
And that's the iReady diagnostic,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And so we can see that she is struggling, or she's below grade level in both reading and math. All right, so let's go ahead to the second part of our ideal process and explore some of the solutions. So Ms. Partain, do you have any recommendations?
Yes, right now, currently Emily is receiving daily Tier 3 reading intervention using Orton Gillingham in a small group setting. Her focus has been on blending, segmenting and decoding CVC and CVCE and digraph-based words. She participates actively, but she continues to struggle to transfer those skills independently.
Okay, what about math?
And math, she also gets Tier 2 support 3 times a week using our CRA, our concrete, representational, and abstract strategies. She's beginning to show some growth with early algebraic reasoning and when manipulatives are used, and her engagement is higher when concepts are pre-taught in small groups and before the whole class instruction.
Okay, So as part of our process and act, are there any recommendations or next steps?
Absolutely. I recommend that she continue with the current OG intervention, but increase fluency support using repeated reading and partner reading strategies. And then in math, I suggest adding short 10-minute pre-teaching sessions on Tier 1 content before math class and incorporating daily number talks to build some confidence with her numbers.
I realize I stepped over here without a pen. Okay. All right, so I agree with all of these. So let's also initiate a check-in, check-out routine for Emily. I think that will help with confidence and reduce reassurance seeking. That's one thing we're seeing in the classroom is that she is constantly wanting to go to the teacher and get reassurance. And so maybe if we have a routine in place for that, that could help and help her to focus on her work a little bit more. We can pair that with a simple visual goal tracker for her to help self-monitor her decoding practice each week as well. All right, as part of our next step, the look portion of the process, we want to plan for progress monitoring. So Ms. Overstreet, do you have any recommendations for that?
Yes, we'll continue the weekly progress on monitoring for phonics and begin tracking fluency gains bi-weekly. And math will monitor her formative assessments every 2 weeks and compare to the CFA benchmarks.
Okay. All right, and then I do want to throw in, I know that kind of wraps up with our ideal process, but I do want us to also remember that we need to follow up with her parents. We did not invite them to this meeting. We have been in communication with them on the phone and through letters, but I will follow up with her mom to schedule the conference probably sometime after spring break, and we'll share these updates, gather any input that she has, and reinforce some home strategies that will support what we're going to do with her.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so moving on to student B. And Ms. Hill, if you want to facilitate this part.
Yes. As we open, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone again for being here today, your time and your input and care for our students, especially Aiden. Truly makes a difference. And I know it helps us in the classroom with our kids. Okay, so we'll continue to follow the ideal problem-solving framework. On the first part, we're going to identify and define the problem. Ms. Short, if you would like to do that. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So Aiden is a first grade student receiving Tier 2 support in both reading and math. He performs significantly below grade level in both of these areas, with current iReady and MAP scores indicating performance below the kindergarten level. In reading, he is struggling with letter recognition, phonemic awareness, and decoding. In math, he has difficulty with counting, number recognition, and shape identification. Behaviorally, Aiden displays a short attention span, frequent task avoidance, and difficulty with fine motor tasks such as writing or cutting.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Overstreet, would you like to input?
Yeah, looking at Aiden's most recent assessment for fall to one of his iReady growth was he went up 36 points in reading and 36 points in math, which shows meaningful improvement. However, his MAP scores remain below the 10th percentile. Despite this, he is trending upward in both subjects. Notably, he made gains from 130 to 134 in reading and from 117 to 124 in math on MAP growth assessment.
Yes, we are so
They're
proud
good.
of Aiden for showing growth. In our next step, we're going to explore some solutions for Aiden. Ms. Partain?
Okay, so currently, Aiden is receiving Tier 2 support 4 times a week in small group sessions. The interventions include multisensory phonics activities like letter tracing and sound boxes, as well as counting and with manipulatives. Structured movement breaks, visual supports, and motor skill stations like Play-Doh and lacing cards are also integrated to meet his needs.
Good. All right. And so despite his challenges, Aiden is responding positively to these strategies. He benefits from short, clearly segmented tasks with frequent breaks and frequent feedback. We're also using tools like iReady to help him, especially lessons with things like phonics and phonics tiles to reinforce foundational skills. We've started using a sticker chart to help with self-monitoring his own task behavior, and he seems to enjoy that. One thing I do want to ask, is he making some improvements on his behavior data?
Yes, he is. He is showing improvement all around.
Okay.
Yes. So even though he's showing improvement, we still want to talk about some next steps for him.
Okay. So I would recommend continuing the current interventions with just a few refinements. So for reading, let's set a specific goal to increase his letter sound recognition accuracy from 40 to 80% in 6 weeks. So I would like to see that get closer to that 80% mark. In math, I think we need to focus on improving his counting accuracy to 20 with fewer than 2 errors using manipulatives. Behaviorally, I think we just need to continue to work to extend his independent work time from 3 to 10 minutes with reduced adult prompting. So I think, again, building on those strategies that we already have, or those interventions that we already have in place, and just tweaking them a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Let's also strengthen family involvement by sending home weekly practice tasks like flashcards or counting games, and check in with parents bi-weekly.
Okay.
This will help reinforce school learning at home and keep everybody aligned so we all can stay on the same page.
And do you have good feedback from his parents? Do they
His
communicate
mom.
well?
Yes,
Okay.
his mom does.
Okay.
Yes. As our next step, let's plan for progress monitoring, Ms. Overstreet.
We'll monitor Aiden's weekly progress using letter recognition and counting probes. Our rated mini assessments will be given bi-weekly for him. And we'll also continue to observe his behavior with a checklist. A progress tracker will help adjust instruction as needed.
Yeah, I think that's great. I'll also, like stated before, reach out to Aiden's mom to schedule a parent meeting with her after spring break. We'll review this progress, explain updated goals and strategies, and give her materials to support aiding at home.
Okay. All right. So moving on to student number 3, or student C. And Ms. Short, if you're
Absolutely.
facilitate this part.
So thank y'all again for just stepping in and help to serve to support our 3rd student. We're going to continue with the Georgia MTSS framework to evaluate academics, behavior, and social emotional for the student, and just look to see if we have any changes or support to our support plans. We're going to continue with the ideal problem solving framework. We're going to identify and define the problem, explore some solutions. We're going to act on those and then look to see what's going on and to guide our instruction and our discussion. So Ms. Ashelman, if you'll go ahead and talk a little bit about Nia for us.
Yes, so Nia is, again, a primary grade student that receives Tier 3 support in reading. Over the past 2 years, she has participated in structured sentence comprehension interventions, including the use of sentence strips and student sheets to improve visualization. While she has demonstrated progress, she continues to struggle with independently applying these skills when reading unfamiliar texts. Retention of key details is inconsistent, particularly when texts increase in complexity. So she's still struggling a little bit.
And Ms. Overstreet, what's the most recent assessment data that we have for her?
Now, based on her recent assessment data, phonemic awareness and decoding shows improvement, but she still requires scaffolding. Fluency, she's still reading at a slow pace, and it's impacting her comprehension. Comprehension, she can visualize well with guided support, but struggles with independent recall.
So we really need to continue looking at that progress monitoring and look for gaps just to make sure that we're addressing all of the concerns in the intervention sessions.
Okay.
Ms. Partain, do you have some suggestions?
Yes, right now, Nia is receiving Tier 3 reading interventions daily, and she's focusing on sentence visualization strategies. While she's doing well in small group activities, she benefits most when she's provided with structured guidance. And a key area of growth is applying comprehension skills in her independent settings.
And Mrs. Hill, I knew you had some information as well.
Yes, one approach could be incorporating more independent practice with self-monitoring tools. Using a structured comprehension checklist may help her internalize key visualization steps and build confidence.
Absolutely. And Ms. Hill, I think you had some next steps for us as well.
Yes. I recommend we continue using sentence comprehension strategies, but introduce self-monitoring techniques to encourage independent application. Additionally, we can implement partner reading to increase fluency practice. We can also introduce visualization graphic organizers for independent work. And we might want to provide structured comprehension questions to scaffold self-monitoring.
I think these are some great additions to what we're already doing. And also, I'm thinking we should embed some more frequent low-stakes checks just for understanding when she's just reading in general, independent time, small group time, anytime she's reading. Ms. Overstreet, do you have some plans for progress monitoring for us?
I do. Based on our past data, we will continue the weekly progress monitoring for comprehension and fluency. Additionally, we'll introduce bi-weekly self-monitoring laws for visualization strategies, monthly comprehension checks with unfamiliar text, fluency tracking using repeated reading assessments.
Thank you all. I will definitely follow up with Nia's mom to discuss these updated intervention plans and provide some strategies so that she can support her at home with comprehension. And we'll continue to encourage the engagement with at-home reading and visualization activities.
Absolutely. All right, so it sounds like we have good plans in place for all three of these students. To close, I do want to quickly review how we applied the IDEAL framework to each student. For example, for student A, we've identified her ongoing decoding and fluency needs. We've defined her skill levels based on data. We explored enhancements for her reading and math plans and next steps for fluency and math pre-teaching. Do you guys want to add on how that looked for students B and C also?
Yes. For student B, for Aiden, we identified his continued academic and behavior challenges. We defined his current performance levels, explored interventions that are working, and refined our plan with new goals and monitoring tools.
And for Nia, we also identified ongoing needs for independent application of those comprehension strategies. We reviewed her data trends, explored some solutions to enhance fluency and self-monitoring, and established clear next steps. One of the things I want to remind all of us about is just to make sure we've updated and documented in our shared data tracking sheet and all of our intervention logs so that all of this information will be updated in our systems.
Yes, and that was actually on my list of reminders. Also, we do want to just make sure that all of our updates are documented. Also, we want to make sure that those parent meetings are scheduled because we do want to involve them in the updates. Typically, because we're talking about more than one student at these meetings, the parents don't come, but we do still want to communicate that and also invite any input that they may have for the intervention work. Make sure that your pink folders are updated and that you also include in there when you're having that parent meeting, because we want to make sure that's documented. I do want to thank you all for your insightful input and for supporting these students, and we want to continue to do this work with other students as well.
Thank y'all.
You're welcome.
Thank you.